The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
The apostles said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." The Lord replied, "If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you would say to this mulberry tree, 'Be uprooted and planted in the sea,' and it would obey you. Who among you would say to your servant, who has just come in from plowing or tending sheep in the field, 'Come here immediately and take your place at table'? Would he not rather say to him, 'Prepare something for me to eat'? Put on your apron and wait on me while I eat and drink. You may eat and drink when I am finished." Is he grateful to that servant because he did what was commanded? So should it be with you. When you have done all you have been commanded, say, "We are unprofitable servants. We have done what we were obliged to do." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
My dear friends in Christ, this Sunday we are reminded of the importance of putting our faith into practice. Because the apostles asked Jesus, they said to Jesus, "Increase our faith." And he said to them, "I don't need to increase anything. Just put the little you have into practice." And of course, we all know the law of use and non-use. If you have a quality, a characteristic, any gift, and you don't use it, what happens? It dies. If you don't use your muscle, what happens? You become lame. So Jesus is saying the only way our faith will increase and multiply is by practice. And we always say practice is the key. If you want to stop lying, what happens? You start telling the truth. If you tell the truth today, tomorrow, 1 week, 2 weeks, what happens? You become a truthful person. Practice is the key. And according to St. Paul, when you read Ephesians 3:21, it says, "Glory to him whose power working in us can make us do infinitely much more than we can ever think of or ask for." If we begin to practice it, what happens? It will blossom. So the readings tell us today, the first reading says, "By his faith, the righteous one shall live." And St. Paul tells Timothy, hey, put into practice the faith you received. And as you put this faith into practice, be ready to have your own share of the sufferings that come to you on account of your faith. So, and that is what Jesus said at the end of the gospel. Because sometimes we Christians, we tend to have this spirit of entitlement, thinking that, oh, because I am a Christian, it's all going to be all goodies. Because that's what the miracle bonanza preachers are telling us today. A child of God does not suffer. A child of God this, a child of God. No. The child of God, look at him. And so he says, hey, practice your faith. And don't expect anything too big. do what you are supposed to do, and the rest will do what? Will take care of themselves. We are what? Unprofitable what? Servants. All we are doing is what we are expected to what? To do. But when we talk about faith remains a concept. It's a concept. For you to know what a concept is, you operationalize that concept. How do you operationalize a concept? By piecing out what that concept means so that you can what? Define the concept. Now, how do you define a doctor? By what he does. Is that right? How do you define a teacher? By what he does. How do you define a priest? By what he does. How then do you define a man of faith or a woman of faith? By what he or she does. So the righteous one, by his faith shall live. We find out how this righteous person, this man or this woman, responds to the challenges of faith. You can't say, I have faith, I have faith, I have faith. It's only by what you do when you face the challenges of what? Faith. What do you do when things are getting so difficult for you? Look, Habakkuk today, he says, oh God, how long am I going to wait? I have prayed and prayed. The more I call you, the more things get tough. They get tougher and tougher. I see only trouble and trouble. God, what is going on? Are you still there? And the Lord said, hey, yeah, I'm still there. I'm there. Write it down. God will visit you. He will surely visit you. He may delay, but he will what? Visit you. I don't know when he will visit you. And he says, look, the rash one. Who is the rash one? What does rashness mean? Somebody who makes a decision without thinking, who jumps from one thing to the other. You know, there's a problem, and then you jump here. Jesus is in Redlands, and you run. Oh, I'm going to Redlands. By the time you get to Redlands, they will tell you, no, that Jesus has left Redlands, and he's now in Ugaipa. Psalm 37 tells us, be still before the Lord and wait in patience. So that's what God said to him today. Wait. It will be fulfilled. I will visit you, but you need to wait. Wait and wait. Don't be rash. Practice your faith. The things you go through in life help you to get better in your faith. God, remember St. Paul in Romans 8:28, he says, all things work together for the good of those who love God. Whatever you are going through, whatever I am going through, if you have a positive mental attitude, if you're a man of faith, you will discover everything works for the good of those who love God. And so that's what God is saying. Hey, wait. It will surely come to pass. It may be tomorrow, it may be next year. But remember, time is only human creation. In God, all we have is eternity. St. James tells us, a day in the house of God. 1,000 years is like a what? A day for God. So you and I are the people counting. It's been 20 years I've been praying. It's been 30 years I've been calling God. For God, in God is all eternity. And so we are urged to wait and practice our faith in the face of trials, troubles, difficulties. I go back to it. How do you know a man or woman of faith? Just as you know a doctor, a teacher, a priest by what he does, you know a man or woman of faith by what he or she does in the face of difficulties. When there is no more money, when you lose your job, when you are having problems with your wife or your husband, marriage problems, when you are sick, when you get a bad news from the doctor, when you get a bad news about your daughter or your son, what do you do? This is when faith is called to what? Action. Because if you keep going every day, enjoying, no trouble, no trial, that is not faith. Faith comes out. We know you are a man or woman of faith by the way you take up these responsibilities. And I want to tell you, let me tell you a little more. I think it's Ecclesiasticus chapter 2, verse 1 that says, once you aspire to serve the Lord, prepare yourself for ordeals. Once you say yes to Jesus, be ready for what? Troubles, trials, temptations. But I remember St. Paul will always tell us, just hang in there. You will go through this. The psalmist also said, many are the trials of the just, but from them all the Lord will deliver him. One of the most favorite passages of St. Paul for me is when you read 2 Corinthians chapter 4, where St. Paul was also recounting what we have to go through as Christians. He tells us, we carry in our body, we die every day. We carry in our body daily the death, the dying of Jesus. But he says to us, we go through this. According to St. Paul, let me quote him now a little more. He says, we suffer tribulations, but are not distressed. We are strengthened, but not destitute. We are persecuted, but not forsaken. We are cast down, but do not perish. He says we carry in our flesh the dying of Christ. And then he went further to say, all these we go through. He says, he calls them momentary afflictions. And he says, for all these momentary afflictions, which we go through every day, are producing in us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. For he said, for all these momentary afflictions, so whatever you and I are going through, he tells us these are temporary. They will pass. They will pass. In therapy, we use the word, these too will pass. Just hang in there, they will pass. And St. Paul says, for this momentary affliction is producing in us an eternal weight of glory beyond what? All comparison. For we look for what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is what? Is eternal. Therefore, that's where the passage comes. Therefore, we walk by faith and not by sight. So, who is walking by faith here? When you walk by faith, you are like, well, this too will pass. I know, according to Job, that my Redeemer liveth, and that he will raise me up from these present problems. I know I will surpass this present difficulty. That is the man of faith. That is the woman of faith. The one who doesn't give up in the face of difficulties. And Jesus is saying, when you practice this faith, you will see what is going to happen. You will say to this mulberry tree, move and be uprooted and be there. And your faith will accomplish that. And remember, Isaiah in chapter 40 from 28 to 31 talked about this faith and hope in God. And I remember, the choir, you sing that all the time. He says, those who hope for the Lord will always renew their strength like the eagle. They will run and never get weary. They will walk and never get tired. You remember that? You know, those who wait for the Lord, in the midst of the difficulties you are going through, you are saying, I wait on him. From where shall my help come, according to the psalmist? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. I wait for the Lord. And Isaiah says, those who wait for the Lord will always renew their strength like the eagle. They don't give up. You know the eagle? The eagle is so the king of the birds. You need to go and read about the eagle. How the eagle renews his strength. That will be another topic. Maybe during Advent we'll talk about it. The eagle can fly across continents. It doesn't fly, it just zooms. The eagle, strong, says, those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength like the eagle. They will run and never get weary. They will walk and never get tired. That is our faith. The troubles, the trials, they don't bring us down. Rather, they make us what? Stronger. And that is the message of today. That's the message of today. I don't know what you are going through. You don't even know what I'm going through. But the Lord is encouraging us this day to put into practice the little faith we have. Remember, according to St. Paul, in his own trials and temptations, he prayed to God 3 times, and the Lord said, I'm not going to take away the problem. Or rather, know that my grace is enough for you. And my power is made perfect in weakness. For when I am weak, then I am strong. That's 2 Corinthians chapter 11, getting to 12. So my brothers and sisters, it's a message of hope, a message of encouragement to not give up, but to practice the little faith we think we have by remaining there and looking up to God and hoping that the one who journeys with God will always get to his destination.